Hey everyone, it is Zentra. Today I want to go over chapter 44 of Seraph of the End. But before we begin, I want to do a quick recap of chapter 43. So in the last chapter, you, Mika, were trying to see if you can control his demon abilities. You's been struggling for quite some time to do so, and it's only getting worse and worse. Later on, Shinoa, Mika, and you were discussing with the group if they want to escape Japan. And they actually decided instead of doing that, they want to rescue Queen Cruel of the vampires. But not only that, you also had in the end of the chapter Ferid and Crowley that were searching for you and Mika and everyone else. That's pretty much where it ended off. So let's begin on chapter 44, the Dead Sea Drive. In this chapter, we're starting off with Crowley and Ferid driving in a very nice car. They are talking to each other, and Crowley's been asking Ferid certain questions. One of them being that, was it you, meaning Ferid, that killed off Mika and Yu's family? And Ferid said yes. So the thing that we didn't really know about yet was Ferid and Crowley's past. They've been around for over 800 years actually, and with their friendship, well, it seems as though Ferid and Crowley right now, they seem like they are sort of friends, but they're not exactly friends. It's weird because 800 years ago, when Ferid met Crowley for the first time, Ferid actually mentioned that he killed Crowley's comrades or Crowley's friends 800 years ago. Ferid turned Crowley to a vampire. It seems as though he turned to a vampire. I'm not entirely sure, but that would make the most sense out of everything. Right now, they're friendly with each other at the moment where they have a common goal, which is to make people into livestock, and they also just want you and Mika within their grasp, especially Ferid. Ferid, we don't know exactly why right now, unless if he just wants to have the power of the Seraph of the End from you specifically, and he could use Mika as a way to control Yu's feelings and controlling Mika as well with his feelings towards you. So Ferid is taking advantage by trying to capture them. Let's move forward to you and Mika and everyone else. You ask Mika, is there a way that they could save the vampire queen, and how do we do that? Mika doesn't really mention how to do it. Mika asks you if he remembers Ferid, the one who killed their family years ago. And once he was starting to think more and more and more, he was starting to remember more of what Ferid was like, and saying that he killed our family and he made us separated from each other for 4 years. And then they were also describing how they killed Ferid. Well, kill him. They didn't really kill him. They just damaged him, but he was totally fine. Funny thing is, which I actually didn't realize, it seems as though you actually doesn't remember seeing Ferid at Shinjuku. And I remember watching this in the anime, and I thought maybe you saw Ferid and you wanted revenge against him. But at the same time, it kind of makes sense because he didn't really mention Ferid in the early parts of the story or even in the anime once they got to present time. So Mika was just thinking, wait, you don't remember him? And then you was saying, oh, well, I was just really focusing on you because I haven't seen you in a long time and I thought you were dead. That makes a lot more sense now as to why you wasn't really interacting with Ferid at the time when they were at Shinjuku. Moving forward though, there's another incident where you heard a sound and it sounded like it was a car, according to Mika. The interesting thing is that everybody else in the group except for you and Mika couldn't hear the sound of the car, and it seems as though you, from his demon abilities that he's been gaining, he is starting to get much more sharper senses. So all of his 5 senses are also starting to increase. So his sense of hearing is starting to become a lot more sharper now. So you and Mika were talking while this was going on, and you and Mika were talking about how it's strange that how you can actually hear the sound from very far away. And again, like I said earlier, it's because of Yu's powers of actually growing into more of his demonic powers. Mika is becoming a lot more worried about you becoming a demon. Now, you, of course, likes to showboat and tries to say that, oh, like, I like to be strong, this is awesome. And then Mika's very serious, saying like, this is meaningless, like, why are you talking about this? And then you saying that we are both the same now that you and I are something beyond human, right? And it's just a very funny conversation back and forth between those two. But going back to Yuichi though, so Yuichi was told by Shinoa to scout the area of where the sound is coming from. So Yuichi was scanning and he saw that there was a car moving, and he zoomed in on what the car looked like, and he saw 2 vampires, and those vampires are Ferid and Crowley. Yuichi was freaking out, and he was telling everybody else that it is the vampire that we saw earlier that had the red hair, and the red hair is the one with Crowley. Everybody's freaking out, remembering that, oh, this is the guy that's very powerful that we couldn't really handle back in Shinjuku. He also mentioned there was a silver hair vampire, which was Ferid. So then you and Mika both react to that, and you is very angry that he's now seeing Ferid. So Shinoa tells everybody that at this point, since these guys are very dangerous, they should just run away. But in terms of running though, they do need to take the stimulant pills because the stimulant pills advances their abilities to move faster, be stronger, basically taking PEDs. Crowley and Ferid at some point figure out in the following panel that they're onto them. They know that they're coming and coming towards them. Ferid just told Crowley just to go and get them. Don't kill them. Specifically what Ferid says is just chop their limbs off. And I think he specifically means you and Mika because he wants them to be the comrades. I don't know about everybody else unless he believes that the others should be spared as well, but I'm assuming it's Mika and you though for sparing their lives because he wants them to be part of the vampires, especially with you with the power of Seraph at the end. Crowley tracks down everybody and he's moving very fast to track down you and everyone else, while you, Mika, Shinoa, and everyone else was running away from. Now at this point, Crowley, you ask Mika a question, and that question is Ferid very strong? And Mika says Ferid is a very strong person. He says that he is also at near the level of Queen Cruel's power. And Ferid, from what we know, is the 7th progenitor. He's ranked 7th, while Crowley is ranked 13th. And the higher the rank is, the stronger they are. So you and Mika were talking about Ferid, and you was thinking that the reason why Ferid let me go on purpose because maybe he has a plan that is set for the future. And Yu's question to himself, was this whole thing planned all along? This whole entire plan of Seraph of the End? Because it seems as though Ferid wanted you to obtain this power of Seraph of the End. And by doing so, he had to go to the Imperial Japanese Army. The Imperial Japanese Army, which we saw Gurren. Gurren said that it happened like a prophecy, and he says that he will use you. It seems as though you now is questioning Gurren because now he's thinking that Gurren, was he planning this all along? Is he part of this whole plot alongside with Kurito? And at this point on now, is he thinking that when they were at the Hyakuya orphanage, was that part of the experiment of knowing like who's the best person to obtain this power? And it seems that his whole life has been set up. You is questioning, is it Ferid? Is it Gurren? Is it Kurito? He's not entirely sure, but he knows at this point that his life has pretty much been set up alongside with Mika, but especially you because you is the one who's obtaining this power. Mika is starting to have regrets saying, if I jumped in sooner to save Akane and the others within their family, he could have saved them, and then you said that it's not your fault. We didn't know about this. We're not the ones who started this whole mess. It was potentially Ferid and everyone else, like maybe Gurren, maybe Kurito. They don't know. Or other people that we haven't even heard of yet. Shiho says that stop the conversation, just focus on running and just moving along because they could be catching up at some point, meaning Crowley will be catching up at some point. But now we're getting into the intense part. Crowley has finally reached to everybody that was running away from him. And you kind of knew at some point he was going to catch him because he is very powerful and very strong and extremely fast. He just passed by everybody like it was nothing. He's wielding his sword. He's about to pull it out. That's pretty much the end of the chapter. It seems as though we're going to see a fight between Crowley, you, Mika, and everyone else because at this point, what are they going to do while Crowley is trying to basically harm them and capture Mika and you? And I believe that Ferid, though, is going to catch up with them at some point so then he could help out Crowley to capture everybody and make things a lot easier to do so. So what are my thoughts on this chapter? I thought this was a very cool chapter. A lot more action going on. Shinoa, Mika, and you and everyone else just running away from Crowley and Ferid who want to capture Mika and you. It was a very fast chapter. It was a lot faster than the previous chapter because the previous chapter is more about planning where this is more about just taking action. The next chapter I'm very excited to read. It's going to probably be about them fighting Crowley. I want to see more power from these characters, seeing that they got really cool abilities and so on. But anyways, that's pretty much it. That was chapter 44. I really enjoyed it and I cannot wait for chapter 45. It's going to be a lot of fun to read. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Click the like down below, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and I will see you all next time.